We've kind of summarised it down to 9 things. So 9 things that have worked for us. It was just to get her used to sitting there and knowing that like nothing bad was going to happen. Hey guys, we had a few questions come through about Amia's toilet training. So we're in the process of toilet training our 1-year-old. We thought we would sit down and go into detail and discuss a few of the things that have worked for us, a few tips and things that can hopefully help you if you're planning on toilet training in the near future. So let's start. We were able to kind of summarize it down to 9 things. So here we go. We got number 1, which is
familiarity. It's always a hard one to say. But...
Yes. So when Amia was about 6 months old, we started putting her on the potty. That was the initial sort of idea that we were going for. And then halfway through, I realized that I didn't want to have to then transition and teach her from the potty to then the big toilet. So I thought, why not just buy the seat and just start from there? And I know 6 months is quite early, but the reason we did it was because my mum toilet trained me quite young. And I guess we weren't necessarily trying to toilet train her at that age, but we just wanted her to become familiar with the toilet. I know a lot of kids, when they get to that point when they're a toddler, they've never used it or never sat on it, it's quite a daunting and scary experience for them. So I was trying to remove that fear by popping her on it from a young age. Every day, just for a little bit, whether she peed or pooed or not, it was just to get her used to sitting there and knowing that like nothing bad was going to happen, that she wasn't going to get sucked in by this toilet. So that's where we kind of began. With her, she sort of had her cues to go to the toilet at 6 months was definitely from feeding. So whenever I used to breastfeed her, she would then you could feel her stomach start to go, and I would stop breastfeeding and take her to the toilet and pop her on the toilet, and she would then do her business. And with peas and things, that was sort of a guessing game at the beginning. We kind of just did it based on timing and roughly. But nothing was really pushed, it wasn't forced. And I know a lot of people say not to toilet train too young because it can actually prolong the, effort. But for me, it was definitely just getting her used to it. And number 2.
Keeping her nappy dry.
Go on.
So we just made that the biggest priority for us is just to make sure she's not sitting in a wet nappy or a pooey nappy for 2 hours, even 3 hours sort of thing. We just made it a priority to not get her used to sitting in a damp nappy, and just to understand that a wet nappy was a wet nappy, and that ideally we'd try and get her to the toilet before that happened.
On number 3. So number 3, this is probably the stage where we actually began properly toilet training, and this is when we really enforced our next couple of tips that have worked for us. So we decided to start toilet training about a week and a half ago because we were on holidays. It really needs to be a solid number of days at home where you watch them like a hawk, and so you can't be going out all the time, you can't be catching up with friends and things like that. So the first method was number 3, which is timing. So when Amia would wake up, I would then take her to the toilet, whether I'd feel her nappy, whether it was heavy or not, whether she'd done a wee overnight, but no matter what, we would pop her on the toilet and give her the opportunity to empty her bladder or her bowel. But yeah, so timing. So then once she did that, if she did pee, you kind of know that in about an hour they're probably going to need to go again, or in an hour and a half. Each child is different though, so I guess you got to play it by ear. But with Amia, it was definitely an hour and a half time frame from when she first peed to the next pee, and then from then it would be another hour and a half to the next one. And I'd keep her fluids the same, so I kind of knew when it was time to go. Tip number 4 would be practicing in front of her. Sounds really weird, but just, I guess, going to the loo her. So if I need to go, I would take her with me, and I would go and sit on the toilet and I'd say, you know, mum is doing a wee, or in our case, we don't call it wee, we call it Mimi. So we'd tell her, you know, Mimi, and like you just kind of communicating what I'm doing so she can see that I'm also doing it and it's a normal thing. The next thing we did was, or not the next thing, but just something that everyone should do, is practice patience. So that's number 5. They are learning, I guess. Like I think with us, when she did have an accident, you try and like, obviously you want to put that sort of shock factor in to make them aware that something's happened. Taking her to the loo straight away, whether she's already done what she needed to do, but still like taking her there and saying, you know, this is where you do Mimi. Like Mimi on the toilet, and talking to her through that, but never ever sort of being aggressive, I guess. Would also then take her to the spot where she's done her business and show her like us cleaning it and saying, you know, this is not allowed here, but at the same time understanding that it is, accidents happen, it's not premeditated.
And I think that's where it's important during that first week to be at home, because I think what we found the first time is we were home as much as we could be, but then sometimes we, you know, had to run out of the house and throw a nappy on, and it would have just, I mean, made a big difference. Or I think it does just make a big difference not to confuse them in that first 7 days. If they pee on the floor, then so be it. You know, they just pee on the floor. But as soon as you put a nappy on them and go somewhere for 4 hours, that will just confuse them. So by the time we'd spent the first full 7 days at home, I think she really got, you know, a full understanding of it.
Yeah. The next thing is number 6, which is basically what Will's just touched on, and that's consistency and repetition. Like kids just thrive off of routine. So I feel like when you're trying to get them to learn a new skill, you obviously got to be patient, but you have to be consistent. You can't expect them to understand what you're doing if you're going back and forth between your methods and I don't know, that sort of thing. Like you just need to have the same phrases, have the same words, have the same timing. Take, you know, offer the toilet. So if your child you think is going every 30 minutes, then offering them that every 30 minutes, not 30 minutes and then 2 hours and then they've done an accident and then you're upset at them, because it's just, yeah, they're not going to understand what's going on. And the best way to do it is by being consistent in that aspect. Would you agree?
Yeah. And that almost ties a lot into patience as well, because you know, like parenting is a challenge, so it can be, you know, you might be tired, or just maintaining that routine and consistency. It is a struggle, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
So there's times when you might be like, oh, I'd love to lay down, oh, hang on, I need to take a minute to the toilet, and it takes a lot, you know, it's a lot of effort.
And the next thing, is communication. So we sort of touched on that a little bit, but your phrases, they need to be short and sweet, and you need to use them all the time. Something I found that I did at the beginning, which I now know would have confused her, is obviously because I've got different cultures and backgrounds and language, I would say wee, and then I'd say pee, and then I'd say, you know, me, and it was just a lot of different words for her. Whereas once I realized that, and I kind of went back and said, okay, let's stick with Mimi, because she can easily say that word as well, because obviously she can say mummy and things like that. So I said Mimi is the way to go, and poo, obviously, and toilet. So those were my 3 big things. So it would be Amia, toilet, or Amia, Mimi, do you need to Mimi? Do you need to poo? Like, and sort of just talking to her with those phrases, and would take her in, and if she did her business, you'd say, you know, well done, like Mimi, well done, Mimi. Mimi, you Mimi in the toilet. Yeah, toilet. Mimi? Yeah. Good work. And you'd kind of repeat that consistently and not confuse them with that. But yes, communicating that and asking them throughout the day, multiple times a day, if they need to Mimi or if they need to wee.
My favourite part about that is the fact that she always said no.
Yes.
And then you took her and she went.
Yes. Yes.
So.
Yeah, but I think when you do those things, there'll come a point where they will take on that word. So now Amir does say Mimi and poo poo. So even if you ask them and if they're going through that lying phase where they just say no, no. Whereas now when she does need to go, she knows to say Mimi or poo poo or toy, like she can't say toilet, but she says let, which is really hard to distinguish when in conversation because it's just not a word that us adults really recognize as a word. It's hard, but you've got to kind of keep your eyes out and just watch her with that. But yes, communication, talking small phrases, short and sweet for them to understand. Yeah. And second last one is reward. That's a big one. So the thing that really drove it home for us is the rewarding. So when she would go to the toilet, and when I heard her peeing or when I heard her pooing, I would rush out and grab a grape, cut the grape in half, and I would run back in and reward her with that. So she would have a little grape, enjoy that little grape and know that she's done something great. I know this might not work for everybody, but it's worked for us. Yeah, but she doesn't require it for every single time she goes. And I think that's the important thing is, for me, with the start of the day, if she does a wee in the toilet at the very start, that's when I'll give her that grape. So she knows that's where you're supposed to go. And then throughout the day, it kind of comes and goes. Sometimes I'll give her a grape, sometimes I'll just give her a big clap, that sort of thing. So that's what for us. And the last thing ties into rewarding, but it's praise. So that's huge, just really over the top praising. So when they've done their business, running in there, big claps, big smiles, repeating your communication words and the phrases. So we would run in and be like, Mia, me, like clapping and really, really happy for her. She would then also be clapping and have a big smile on her face. But yeah, doing that, lots and lots of praise, even to the point where if Will's not there, he's in the kitchen, we'd come out together and I'd be like, Will, she's done a Mimi, and we'd all clap and scream and shout for her. But yes, that's sort of the 9 things that have really helped us. I know I had a few questions about our seat. Our seat's just from Kmart, just nice and cheap and easy. I'm actually thinking of buying another one, a second one, to put in a bag for when we're out and about. But yeah, so far it's going really, really well. I think this is our, a week and a half now, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's about 9-10 days now, and it's going really, really well. We've only had one accident.
Fairly well. Like watching her, communicate with us now, it's sort of very clear to us that she's understanding, that that's the toilet, and to communicate that to us where possible. Like she does. She was saying et, and then now it's let. So, and Mimi and stuff like that. So yeah, it's really cool to see.
Yeah, seeing it progress in her mind. And even when we do go out, so when we go out, we still put a nappy on her at this point, because it's just a bit, a bit daunting as parents. I don't want to have to deal with that at the moment out in public. But she doesn't go anyway, and she doesn't ever say she needs to go out there. Obviously, if we're out for 4 hours, we would bring the seat and offer it to her. But at the moment, it's really, really good. She'll kind of be fine. So, but yes, it's definitely, those are the main things for us.
And that's the thing, it might not be the same for everyone. Everyone might have different things, but at least they can pick and choose what what works.
Yeah, and like that's a big thing as well. I had read that people will kind of go out and buy lots of underwear for their kids, and that's how they'll put underwear on. Whereas with me, I found with Amir, I was happier with her not having any underwear or anything sort of touching that area. At home, obviously, well, for me that was because I wanted her to really feel like if she did pee, like she would really notice what's happening to her body and not confuse a nappy and underwear and all that sort of thing. So you just pick and choose what works for you, but hopefully some of these may work for you. You can give them a try, or yes.
let us know what works.
Yeah, let us know what works in the comments or direct message me. I'd love to hear how everybody's journey is going. Yeah. Okay, bye guys.
Bye.
Hey guys. Okay.
Alright, one second.
Okay.
Don't.
I'll just do anything. Okay. Ready, baby? You need some water. Hey guys, we had a few questions asked. Why? That was good. I was about to nail it. Hey guys, we had a few questions come in about Amir's toilet training. So we thought we would do a video just going into a bit more detail on what has worked for us and some tips to hopefully help you guys on babe.